Okay, so Velutha is, so like I said, the book is called The God of Small Things, and Velutha is the god of small things. Velutha is a man he is untouchable, and he is beloved, but he's a dangerous untouchable because he recognizes this whole system in place, and he wants to be part of changing it. So he becomes a communist because he thinks that will help him because, caste is class, and if there are no class systems, then there will be no caste systems. And he has an education. He can read. He can do carpentry. He's very talented. If he wasn't an untouchable, he would be an engineer, Momochi says.
Yeah.
And so Velutha at first is kind of kept kind of like a pet by the household, and the children seize upon Velutha because Velutha is different. Obviously he's different because he's an untouchable, but he's also very kind, and he's also very loving and patient with the children, with Senryo, so they love him.
Smart, ambitious guy. He understands that the system is working against him, and he understands that this caste system that has made him an untouchable is inherently stupid. Like, there's no reason that he needs to not have ambition, not be able to work where he wants, not be able to love the people he wants to love, and that's why he joins the Communist Party. But that's why he's dangerous. His father is scared of him because of his ambition, because of his not acceptance of the current norms. His father really wants him to just be a normal untouchable. And, he just doesn't want him to make any noise. He wants him to have his head down and do his thing.
Which he can't do, and which he shouldn't have to do, either. Yeah. So Velutha's downfall comes about because of Amu, which is interesting. We've used the word interesting a lot, but this whole book is interesting. Which is interesting because Velutha is described as dangerous, and so is Amu. And that is, how that happens. Amu is a divorcee. She has 2 kids, so obviously that in itself was pretty dangerous at the time. Maybe Kochama hates that. Her mixed race, marriage. And Amu, at this point, she's a woman. She has nothing left to lose. And so she ends up in a relationship with Velutha, which is, of course, horrifying to the family and to the community because Velutha is untouchable and she is touchable.
So, I think both Velutha and Amu, they're attracted to each other. Even they don't go into detail, but I think that the fact that they're both dangerous is because they have a disregard for society. I mean, Amu got divorced from her alcoholic husband, and she also married someone who was outside of her religion. And Velutha joined the Communist Party, and they both had plans. They wanted a better world. Amu was feeling really lost because she felt like she had lived life. But their relationship was also very sexual, and that's something that Baby Kochama doesn't have. And that's something you don't see in any of the other characters, unless you count the molestation of Esta.
Which we don't.
Which is, no, because it's not based on love. It's terrible.
It's based off of power, really.
Yeah.
But honestly, despite the fact that their relationship is the most problematic societally wise, it's the healthiest. I mean, there are no power dynamics at play. For the most part, they're considered equal. I mean, yes, their relationship is based off of sex, but it's consensual, and neither of them seems to have a problem with that. I mean, of course, it's a short relationship as well.
2 weeks.
And and both of them know that nothing can happen as a result of that. But Velutha is killed as a result of his relationship with Amu, but the relationship also brings about her downfall as well, which she's more implicit in, or she's more involved in that. It's because of the fact that she goes and tries to rectify the situation with the police that her downfall occurs too, because no one had suspected that she would do it. They just assumed that she would
just go along with blaming him.
Yeah, she would go along and protect her honor and her children's honor. And it's because of that that she's sent away and develops tuberculosis and then dies at 31, which is described as a
viable, diable age.
Which is basically they're the twins. They're at the center of this book. They're described basically as two halves of the same whole. They feel what the other person is feeling. They can
They
can
know.
communicate
Yeah,
without
they have
talking.
that strange twinniness, even though they're not
identical, which is a big deal is made out of that. The fact that they're like they're two egg twins, and the fact that they can be split up, and then obviously, I mean, I guess they can, but really
you can't split up siblings.
But really not. I mean, they really just can't be split up in general.
Yeah,
the two of them. I mean, even when they're apart, they're
missing something. Rahel she is a bit more
like Amu.
Yeah, she's a bit more like Amu. She's spunky. She's perceptive of different things, and she's a bit more impulsive than Esta is.
Esta's very practical. Esta's the practical.
He is very practical, and he seems much more like, right from the beginning when he had to go use the bathroom at the talkies, he had his little puff and his comb. He was just a little gentleman, and he was very sweet. And then his innocence was spoiled.
That adults just do these things without any regard for children's innocence or their childhood, which like how much can that be expected really, considering the just the savagery of human beings that is mentioned, obviously in the case of Velusa, but also in the Kathakali dancers, which is, I mean, the Kathakali dance is really like the story, it's a metaphor for the story. And there's a point where they say, where Kamar Pillai is explaining to them the Kathakali dance, and he says that, one of the characters in the dance, who I forget, he's searching for the beast that lives within, and what the author points out, or what Rahel points out, is that no animal is able to assess the depths of human savagery and hatred the way that humans have been.
They're twins. They're twins, and they end up having sex. And this is after they come back. After Rahel is in the U.S., she's married, she gets divorced, and then she comes back to Aymanim.
Quite like Amu, see? Yeah. And also she's described as like looking physically like Amu, except more angular.
Yeah. And I was so shocked it's not even funny. I went back when I first read this book last year. I went back and I was like, wait, is that what she actually said?
I read this book for the first time when I was 15, and I hated it. And part of the reasons I hated it was because of that scene, because I was like, why is that necessary?
Yeah.
And then I read it again last year and I loved it, but I still, what do you think about that?
The more I start to think about Esta and Rahel as people who are missing something, it's because of Esta being molested and then not feeling safe except for with Rahel. And then Rahel and Esta both going through watching Veluta be beaten. And they saw him. They saw his intestines come out. They saw him be beaten. And they were torn apart kind of because of baby Kochama, who said, we need to send Rahel back to his dad, who had remarried by that time.
Yeah.
Esta back to his dad. And so they split up the twins.
And then what I think is interesting is that Rahel, you would think that after Amu is sent away, I don't really understand why they couldn't both go with to their dad, because I don't understand what was gained by Rahel staying at the house.
Yeah, I don't either. Maybe they thought that they were troubled. Yeah, they put the blame on Esta a lot more for what had happened to Sophie Mole. I think because I remember Margaret Kochama slapping Esta a lot.
But neither of them really knew his place in it, which is interesting. I mean, it was, in a way, his idea to travel the river because of the Orange and Lemon Drink Man, but it's not really... I mean, he was 7.
Yeah, and he was molested, and he was highly misunderstood. Which is the tragic part, because he's a kid. What can you expect? He just lost all the trust that he had in adults. He thought his mom was going to not love him anymore. And Rahel was feeling what he was feeling because they had this connection. So when they meet again 24 years later, it isn't like, I don't think it's as sexual as it's meant to be.
Yeah. They're just, two halves of the same whole in that moment, I think.
I just don't think...
I guess it's kind of like, honestly, like how, in what other sense can you possibly make two people one,
Yeah.
Like,
and
physically one.
Yeah, there's no way that I'll ever be able to explain it or be okay with it, because I'm frankly disgusted, but it goes with the narrative, and I think it's so real how she portrays Esta and Rahel's connection and the things that happen to them, that after you read it for the second time...
The third time, in my case.
Third time.
Still bad. Actually, this time, since it was the third time, I was not even surprised anymore. So...
Yeah.
I was not even disgusted, really. I was like, it was always going to be in the book. That Velutha was a god of small things. So we're told specifically that the god of small things is a one-armed man who if he saw her, he couldn't touch her. If he fought, he couldn't win, which is obviously Velutha. But then, and then I think that Arundhati Roy says that he's a god of small things with this quote. It says, even later on the 13 nights that followed this one, instinctively they stuck to the small things. And I think, that's why he's a god of small things. He can, and I think that's very, very true to his character as well. He loves Rahel and Esta, who are small people. And he loves Amu, but they both know that they can't have the larger things together. They can only have the small things.
Yeah, it's a very much, let's just take what we can right now. Yeah. Things like, seeing you now and thinking just about today, and then afterwards thinking about tomorrow. And that was what Velutha represented, because he couldn't have anything more than that. He wasn't allowed to have anything more than that, even though he had the ambition for it.
Yeah.
And when he did want the bigger things, that's when he got killed.
Hi! So, next month, on the next edition of Impactful Ink, we are going to be reading...
The Perks of Being a Wallflower. We're taking a break from... really heavy books, because I don't think our emotions can handle
2 in a row.
Yeah.
So we're going to read everyone's favorite book when they were 15, my favorite book when I was 15.
I haven't read this book yet, so I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's a quick read, and it's a lot, it's a lot less dense than The God of Small Things, so.
Yep.
We hope that you will read it along with us, and we hope that we'll see you in May. And
happy spring!
And happy reading.
Yes.